thank you everyone for joining the investor webinar for the Good Seed today. My name is Robin Holt and I'm here from Birchal, and I'm your host, and I'm effectively going to be talking all about the Good Seed and just this wonderful business that you've built up and the investment opportunity that's coming up soon. For today's format, we've got a number of questions that I'm going to be asking the Good Seed founders here around the background of the business, what the future looks like for the business, and what the investment opportunity looks like as well. But throughout that, we really would like to invite you to use the Q&A chatbot. So basically the Q&A function at the very bottom, to ask as many questions as you possibly can about the upcoming offer or crowdsource funding or anything else that's super relevant to today's session. Now, Adrian and Ivy, I'd love to throw over to you to introduce yourselves before we do get started.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Ivy. I think most of you already know, if not through the video campaign. I can see a lot of customers that have jumped in here. So hello, and thank you very much for your support from the very beginning till now. My name is Ivy, I've already said, and I am the co-founder of The Good Seed. And Adrian?
Yeah, well, I'm the co-founder of The Good Seed as well. We started a business together, myself and Ivy, and here we are now, just chugging along and building a brand together.
Absolutely. What a perfect segue into asking you how you've got here and really what the history is behind the business, because there's a lot more than just your sorted brand. And I think actually, without asking too much of another question, I'm going to ask you to jump onto that right away, because there's so much to delve into.
Sure. Well, gut health, or the interest of gut health has always been in our DNA. We founded the Good Seed Kefir, or the Good Seed now, as we loosely call it, because of our own underlying gut health issues. I can get Adrian to give you a bit of a story, but in short, it's our own underlying gut issues. We started off from farmers markets, and then one leg at a time. We're now here, we're sorted. But maybe I can get Adrian to quickly jump in the background of where and how we really started.
Well, it's funny because it all started because I was playing a lot of tennis. I came back to Melbourne after a few years being away. And what happened was I was coaching tennis and I had a ganglion on my toe. So it was bothering me, and I tried to sort of fix it, because the traditional way of dealing with a ganglion was to basically grab a really large rope and smash it to a point where it basically ruptures. But obviously there's a better way to it, and Ivy looked and researched on it. And what happened was she realized that it was to do with my gut. So with that, we did a bit of research. We knew that water kefir was a product or a drink that had a lot of probiotic benefits, and we started looking for it. We went around looking for water kefir, but we realized very soon enough that firstly, it was hard to find. And once we found it, there was a limited supply of it. So we'll get some for a week, and then the next week we will struggle to find it. So with that inconsistent supply of water kefir, we decided to make it ourselves. And that's how we sort of started fermenting, and we got excited about it. We found that it was working. The ganglion would sort of be managed a lot better. It didn't grow any bigger. In fact, it sort of subsided slowly. And that was how it started. And then from there, Ivy noticed some health issues dissipate as well. Do you want to go on with that?
Yeah, so I had very bad psoriasis since the age of 3. During the fermentation process and the experiment and the consumption of water kefir because of Adrian, we both noticed that my psoriasis had changed. And this was a big deal, because you're coming from a kid that, wore long sleeves as much as she could in the height of summer, and it's just like, I just need to hide my psoriasis. But it helped. If anything, it cleared it up. So then we decided to share our love with friends and family. Naturally, we gave water kefir to friends and family. At that point in time, we're helping out with, farmers markets, and just kind of handed it out, but not for sale. And it got to a point where we had a few friends tell us, look, you have to sell this, because if you don't, it makes it really awkward for us to keep asking for more. We love it. And that's how the business came about, really. So up until early 2019, no, 2020, no, gosh. Anyways, at the start of COVID, we were doing farmers markets and also B2B sales as well in terms of distributing water kefir. We also expanded the range to make probiotic icy poles, which is our nice pops, some fermented vegetables seasonally, and also some gut health shots. But what we found during our journey is that probiotics is important, but what is more important, in fact, is actually prebiotics. So if you look at your gut, sorry, this is a bit nerdy. We're talking a lot about gut health, but this is our actual foundation of such. So
yeah, absolutely.
So when you talk about the rainforest, you're not only talking about seeds, you want to make sure that you have the right environment for your plant to grow. Now, there's a lot of queries or questions where people ask, isn't prebiotic and probiotic the same, or what are they? What's the difference? So my analogy is that prebiotic provides the environment, the nutrients for your seed, which is your probiotics, to grow and replicate in order to create a rainforest in your gut. That is very, very important, because if you don't have diversity in your gut, if you don't have a thoroughly thriving microbiome, then a lot of gut health issues stem from there. For example, the thinning of mucosal lining then causes a lot of allergies or food allergies, as we would see now. A lot of food sensitivities are popping up in the modern generation. That's just because our gut isn't diverse enough. So that's how the Good Seed was founded, or kefir. So over the duration of 2 years, we then really delved deep into probiotics and prebiotics. So we were researching what the ultimate product may be in the market. And the ultimate product for us, we felt, was a prebiotic product. We love the idea of, being able to have that cheeky soft drink every now and then, but you can't help but feel guilty every time you do. So we decided, look, there really isn't anything in the market apart from, like, in the better health space, kombucha or your diet soft drink. There was nothing in terms of a prebiotic healthy soft drink. And yeah, I may have jumped the gun there, Rob, in terms of talking about Sorted, but yeah, that's how Sorted stem about. I can talk a little bit more on Sorted if you may allow me, but yes.
Absolutely. No, look, I think it's all super interesting and very relevant. And I think that you made a really important point there, that the prebiotics, the products which or the methodology that you want to adopt rather than probiotics. Why have you landed on that decision? What's the consumer behavior and what's the consumer understanding?
Sure. So modern day consumers in general don't consume enough prebiotic fiber, or we don't consume enough fiber. When you talk about, let's say, a day-to-day, or the amount of people that don't consume the fiber, I think the stats was 9 to 8 out of 10 Australians do not consume enough fiber. And that's shocking, because how do you go through a day adding all these calories into your day, eating, having your regular things go on, but not consume enough fiber? But it is actually happening. A lot of processed foods, for example, you could have a full-blown lunch bar, breakfast, and that will probably consist of 5 grams of prebiotic. That's not enough. So average consumer, minimum, you need 30 grams of prebiotic per day in order to have a thriving microbiome, or to even get that started. Now, Sorted is a soft drink that is not just good for you. It is actually good for you, but it's got 7 grams of plant-based prebiotic fiber.
Right.
It's low carbs, low calories, and 0 sugar. The reason why we created that, or we looked into that space, was because, cycling back, what our ideal product may be is that we needed to think about what the pushback was in terms of a modern day consumer not wanting or not having enough prebiotic, or being able to look after their gut. If you talk about fiber, a lot of people are on, for example, now your keto diets, your paleo diets. Now that, if not done correctly, you're not actually consuming much carbohydrates. That's the main goal for, let's say, a keto diet, but that also means that you are not consuming enough fiber. So that taps onto that market, but at the same time, the most important part about prebiotic is that it's just everything, really. Sorry, I keep harping about this, but the modern day diet just doesn't consume enough of it. So cycling back, Sorted is here to bridge the lack of fiber in modern day diet in a convenient package.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, look, you've absolutely been able to make a lot of noise in the market, because you've been around since 2016, and you've had other products, which was essentially these water kefir products, but Sorted has really gained so much attention from your suppliers, and ultimately landed you a deal in Coles, which must have been a huge milestone for the business. So I'd love to understand really how the market's responded to it and what your initial data looks like.
Sure. So we knew what the initial pushbacks were in terms of in the functional beverage industry or the space category. And we also knew what was lacking. So the reason why we created Sorted was not only because of the passion that we have for gut health, but also because we looked in, or we found accidentally, the white space where Sorted is well in position in that better for you space, in that soft drink category, to be able to provide where nobody else or nobody has provided in this format. In a traditional sense, one would get extra fiber through, for example, your prebiotic base fiber drinks, the ones that you mix in your shelf, for example, Benefiber, Metamucil, but there is nothing in an easy, convenient package. So we felt that we could disrupt that space. And it has been resonated really, really well within consumers. One, not because, well, solely because it's good for you, but also because that there is, sorry, not because it's just good for you, but because there is also that flavor-led appeal to it, there is nothing like it in terms of the better for you space. Let's say when we talk about what's in that fridge space at the moment, there is kombucha, there is milk kefir, but there is nothing that really has that flavor appeal that resonates with soft drinks. So for us, we've been really lucky, or we have done that calculation where we are able to capture that big soft drink market, but also people who really want to look after themselves.
Yeah, understood. So, let's talk more about the commercial side of the business that you've been able to build here, because you've already landed that deal in Coles, as I've mentioned, and you're stocked in a number of local suppliers. What are the numbers looking like now in terms of your stockists, and where else are you who else are you having conversations with? Where else are you looking to be stocked and expand the market reach?
Sure. So in terms of where we're available at the moment, we're available in half of Coles, so 400 Coles at the moment. But as borders have now loosened up, or no longer in restriction. We're looking at gaining more momentum in terms of getting more shelf space in that area. So that is one. But in terms of indies, we are still approaching and growing strength to strength in terms of independent retailers and grocers. That's important for us because for us, we want our product to be accessible far and wide. And, you know, people don't just shop at one venue now or one type of venue. They want to be able to shop online. They want to be able to shop at a health food store, independent grocers, and also your supermarket giants. With independent groceries or independent grocery stores, we are stocked in about 60, but that's mainly based in Victoria at the moment. So we have just locked in a few distributors as of last week and this week. So a lot is with a short week. And also we've managed to just tap on to SA with the convenience impulse there with AM, PM gas stations. And as of early this week, we have also just sealed our accounts with the Dairy Farm Group in Southeast Asia, which covers a lot of stores around the region. So in Hong Kong, they have retailers in Malaysia and Singapore, Vietnam, and a few other countries as well, pockets around. But we are piloting a model where we will be in 32 of their more premium outlets in Malaysia. Products will be available there in about 4 weeks or so. So things are moving very, very fast for us. In terms of who we're talking with at the moment, we are in talks with a lot of people. We have done quite a few range viewings, waiting on, pending on a few answers, but also have locked in a few other moving forward too. So we've been speaking to in lights of your convenience, say 7-Eleven, other major retailers such as your Woolworths, your independent groups, such as your Richies, your Ryan's, IGA, your Drakes, your Romeos. So there is a lot happening at the moment in terms of sales. And in terms of seeing that come through or seeing, you know, a good chunk of it flourish and come through, that'll be mainly towards kind of after winter, early spring. But we're just very excited. I can't say.
You can't say it yet?
Yeah, but we're very, very excited to share some good news in the next few weeks and few months. Just
fantastic.
Like we'll keep trickling through.
Fantastic. And look, I mean, it sounds like the business is and Sorted as a product is getting a huge amount of attention, not only locally but also overseas, and that's really, of course, painting a picture of why you're raising funds right now. But I'd love to understand how the product's being received. Of course, sending out and, you know, creating all that inventory and then sending it out and continuing to grow, it's absolutely going to provide you with a cash requirement in the business. But I'd love for you to paint a picture of how Sorted is generally being received among these stores, and really just give some insight to everyone who's on this webinar as to what you're raising funds for.
So at the moment, Sorted has been really well received. Now, in terms of direct to consumers, our return customer rate has been really, really good. Not just coming from a base of regular customers that we've had from Kefir, but also from the general public. I have to pull out the specific stats for that. But we have gained a lot of momentum in terms of subscription service just for Sorted alone. Now that's quite good data for us to have at the moment, because then we're able to amplify and grow that same messaging in a bigger pool. So our return rate for that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Harry, I think it was 40% of people who buy Sorted online, they come back to repurchase, if not subscribe. 40% of subscription, and then repurchase was something around 60 to 70%, if I'm not wrong. But
That's awesome.
Now, in terms of store uptake, that has been really, really good. When it first launched during the warmer months, sorted in store in terms of sale figure wise, actually was ahead of the chart. So it was about, I think, 1.2 times over the sale of kombucha, which is interesting because, you know, that category has kind of dropped down a little bit, but sort of kind of just picking that up, or sweeping the kombucha customers up. Sorry, I'm seeing Harry message right here, is 20% retention rate of the customers. Give me a second. 20% retention rate on e-commerce, and this is for the branded store only. Right. So our weekly replenishment in Coles has also been very, very steady. Our units per store per week, in terms of meeting the target, we have been smashing through that. So that also means for us a very, very promising start and more shelf space. But at the moment, we're in the time of collecting our data, so we're able to present it to the other majors also. So yeah, we've upped our units per store by 50% in the last few months or few weeks, actually, with this drop of sorted. So oh, wow. Yeah, we're very, very excited about that.
That's really exciting. And I think actually it's perfect way to transition even into a question that you've got here, because you're talking so much on the product. Somebody here has asked if you can share some challenges on the manufacturing process, raw materials and packaging, and the expiry of the products themselves.
So with the original range, I may be honest, there are quite a lot of challenges in the manufacturing process, yeah. Raw materials, packaging, expiry, etc. So water kefir has its own challenges. So it's not an ambient product, it's a chilled product. So that means it needs refrigeration all the way through. It's got a relatively short shelf life in comparison to a lot of the drinks out there, because you know, you would treat it as you would any other fermented drink that is authentic. Shelf life. Not only that, but being a fermented drink has its manufacturing challenges because it's a live living product. Now going back into sorted, it's a completely different ball game. We're sorted as an ambient product. We have a long shelf life, and it's just opened up so much for us, especially, you know, since February, since having our product launch in Coles. We've had many retailers contact us, and customers also have been able to try the product in Coles and Woolies, in Coles, and be able to just repurchase it from us in a bulk format. I would say, like any manufacturing or any other product being manufactured, there are standard challenges, you know, when it comes to supply. At the moment, everything is slow. So evidently, we have been slowed down in the process, but the process of manufacturing is relatively simple. Expiry or shelf life is long. It's ambient. So to answer that question there, it's just a matter of us wanting to scale up, and when we scale up, to really make all that more efficient.
Yeah, understood.
And obviously the funds that come through for that will be part of that too.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, you've just been asked about how you plan to scale and increase production. I guess you can kind of talk to what you're producing right now as a business, and really what the funds will enable you to be able to do specifically.
So at the moment, we have partnered up with, a very good, solid manufacturing or co-packing partner. The idea with raising the funds is one, be able to produce at a mass volume or a larger volume, not only because then we lower down our costs, make distribution more efficient, but also then we're able to focus on where we need to, which is growing the business and, expanding our supply chain. Yeah,
absolutely. And you've had a question here as well. You mentioned that the expiry time for sorted was long. What's the specific shelf life?
The shelf life for sorted is 2 years.
2 years, fantastic. And also export market and supply chain constraints to exporting and shipping. How are you getting on with this? And are you finding it to be a huge challenge at the moment?
Not so much if we're well prepped ahead. So with everything, the lead time, we'll have to add a week here or two. But with COVID restriction easing, it's made a lot of things easier now. I must say, when we were looking at export originally, even booking a container out of the country, we had to be very specific in terms of time and date, and everything was cut to a fine comb tooth. But at the moment, it's kind of eased and come back to normal. So export constraints, not so much, but it's mainly for us. I guess our constraint for export is partnering up with the right people. So we had a lot of people contact us, ask about distribution, but for us, it's very, very important to partner up with the right people. One, the people who understand where our product sits, to understand that where our value is, and also just having that right channel too. We're applying it the same everywhere we go, or every channel, every market we hit, where we want to have the product accessible, one, in the majors, two, indies, and then we'll look into food service and all the convenience chains. So
great. That sounds awesome. I mean, it sounds like there's so much that you can do with sorted, and so much further that you can go because of the market demands out there. And I want to thank everybody for the questions that they've put in so far. Please do use the Q&A feature as much as you possibly can to ask any questions. Anybody can upvote or comment on any of them, so then we can keep all the questions batched together. But I think we've touched on this briefly, but really because of the prebiotic focus of sorted, I'm really keen to understand, and I know I've seen a question from this before, what other products can you produce now that you've produced this product that clearly has a lot of market demand?
Yeah, so at the moment we're working on a few different flavor profiles. For us, obviously, it's important to not only get our products on shelf, but also increase that customer basket size. But we can't just keep harping and pushing the same 3 flavors. So, everybody has their own preference. For example, I may love blood orange, someone else may not like anything citrus based at all. We are working on specific flavors that are in alignment where the soft drink offering is at. So for example, the red can that we conveniently see in a lot of places. A cola flavor is one that will be releasing in the next few months. But not only that, but so with our ingredients, we at the moment we are looking and working on a patent ingredient blend that will allow us to use and license out as the category grows. For example, the basic blend will allow us to be used in, for example, a nutrition bar, a different kind of format of drink, whether it be just sparkling water, or even an effervescent tablet. Yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the like, vast product range that you will have further down the line will be essential as you continue to build this as a global business, because ultimately, like you say, people have got different preferences and countries have completely different tastes and cultures, and really intertwining your product with that country and what their market demands are is so key.
Also a consumer profile too, right? Because all consumers are different.
Very much so.
Someone a little bit older, for example, may not necessarily like a carbonated drink. For us, we love sorted because it's that cheeky, tongue-in-cheek, soft drink, the one thing that you can pick up that reminds you of that childhood party that you had when you overconsume, in my instance, Fanta, for example.
Yeah.
But now I'm able to consume it and not feel guilty about it, but also look after myself. But at the same time, not everybody feels the same way about having a soft drink. We may have someone that say, oh, well, I want to completely wean myself off soft drink. So then we could bring in a convenience format, for example, effervescent tablet, where that can be just carried in the back of a backpack. And, you pop a tablet in the morning, you've got 7 grams of your fiber sorted. That's a third of your daily fiber sorted. And literally you can move on with your day. And if you haven't had enough by the end of the night, you can have a little cheeky top up in a mixer, for example, at home, as a little wind down. But it's just different formats are very, very important. Not everybody is the same. We are looking into that and are working in that right now, but that where it all comes with obviously the raising of funds to enable us to expedite that a lot quicker.
Absolutely. And you've been asked a question here around your pricing. So Coles versus sort of the sorted website, will this be standardized regionally and nationally?
We hope so, yes. At the moment, it's not standardized, I admit, with Coles and our website. One, because, shipping it out of factory is quite different with freight, the additional costs. With Coles, if I may be honest, our margins are a little bit lower. Now, it makes sense because we're gaining more volume there. But in order to standardize, or the importance of standardizing pricing, I admit that it is very, very important to do so. But actually, there is no but. So we are working on that at the moment, not even just from a national perspective, but from an international perspective also. So the price point, for example, for sorted in Malaysia with the cold storage group, is quite in alignment with what is available in the better for you category, but also quite on par with the pricing that we have here. But it's a no-brainer. As volume increases, pricing will also come down. We want to make sorted accessible for everyone. So pricing is number one factor. That yellow tag at the supermarket, that sale tag is a big pull for people. And a lot of the times it can be the decision maker in terms of what you put in your basket. Not everyone, wants to look after, or not, I wouldn't say not look after, but not everyone wants to prioritize the gut health or their health in general based on products they consume. But having that lower price point will make the product more accessible in general, and also increase our volumes, increase consumer demand, and also the understanding and the importance of a prebiotic drink.
And I think that's key, because have you seen really from when they do run sales on your product, have you seen that data, what it looks like, and has it really got you to where you ultimately want to be in, you know, your at your sales levels?
Yeah, so it's a no-brainer with that sales, you know, it's a little bit early to declare our uplift, but truth is, with the sales that come through having the sales, let's say in our indies or whether being Coles, the uplift has been quite good or very good. As a matter of fact, if I pull the data out right now, our uplift has been almost 2 times to 2.5 times of our standard unit per sales per week.
Wow. Okay.
But it is a little bit early for us to say at the moment, because there's a lot of things going on, and you know, as we learn, we will be able to solidify proper data for it. But this is just all learning, because we've only done 2 major sales so far, and it's been interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. No, that's super interesting. And I think it would be a great time for you to talk a bit more about the upcoming investment offer, the timing of when people can come in, and really what you're aiming to raise.
Sure. So with the close of our campaign, we've just recently extended it. That was today, wasn't it, Rob? That we
Correct,
extended it. So we've extended it to the 2nd of May, solely because of the short weekend. We want to have that extra time to be able to communicate with people that have, you know, expressed their interests and being part of our journey over the next few days. And short weeks being short weeks, you know, people have gone away, and we're just taking that time to really connect, but also just, you know, keep cycling that pull to create the awareness of the campaign. Give me a second. Sorry. So that's one. Back to the original question. Sorry, Rob.
Yeah, it was purely about the investment offer, what the terms are, what you're looking to raise, and obviously how people can understand what your use of funds are. Of course, you've got a huge amount of growing demand as a product, so working capital and really investing in inventory is probably an expectation, but I think breaking down those use of funds is really key to understanding more about the
of course. So the use of funds will be predominantly for sorted. Now, we decided that this has a lot of scope, not just us deciding in terms of gut feeling literally, but also through data. And what's available in the market at the moment. We really want to capture a big market share of the soft drink market, but also lead the functional beverage industry. And that's why we're raising the seed fund to be able to grow sorted. So we've done all the legwork, we've done all the research, we've made a good product, but it's just a matter of really propelling that velocity through funds, obviously. The funds raised will be obviously gaining traction in terms of marketing, and that's direct to consumers, working with trade retailers. Sampling is so important for us, because if consumers are not able to sample our product, they don't understand it. And what's important for us is flavor-led first. So that's a big part of our marketing push. At the same time, the other thing is obviously we want to be able to lower down our cost per unit, and that's through manufacturing volumes. We have solidified a few different partners that we can work with in order to create the most efficient way to do so. So those are the 2 use of funds at the moment. But also we want to be able to really build a big sales arm of the business to target the food service. Now, at the moment, food service is untapped. And during summer or the start of spring, we really want to have a big team out there to be able to support our distributors in terms of covering every second, third cafes, restaurant outlets out there, not only in Victoria, but throughout the nation. And yeah, that's the few different things really. And also just to propel the work that we have been doing at the moment in terms of product development, you know, bring in the new flavors, bring in the effervescence, and just tying and solidifying some global partnership also.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that covers everything there, that that really is mostly a new use of funds. James here has asked a question about how can you talk more about how your advisory team and board has specific industry knowledge, what specific industry knowledge they do have within the team and advisory board.
Sure. In terms of advisory board, we have a broad pool of people, you know, advising us from an informal and informal format. These are people from a very big corporate background. I'm not too sure if I can name names, so I won't. But also in terms of founding partners, also one of our partners run multiple consumer good businesses in lights of food service, in lights of convenience chains, that we're able to gather data and learn from also, which led to the fast execution of sorted and really solidify that foundation in terms of what we really need to bridge that gap in the market. Harry has recently joined us, and he comes from supply chain and marketing knowledge in CPG, in the CPG industry in the past. So Harry's taking lead in terms of marketing at the moment. And so those are the two people, plus we have a few other people as well on the side, from, let's say, entrepreneurial programs that we've signed up with in the past, say likes of Rocket Seeder, and just a few customers, I would say, customers now turn friends, that have broad knowledge within the industry from a higher level.
Fantastic. And you've had a question here as well from around the marketing piece, and obviously Harry's going to come into that, but is there a specific demographic that you are focusing on, perhaps as a company and also for Sorted?
Truth is, it's quite broad. Now, our current market or our current consumer base is mainly women, fashion, fitness, and people with specific dietary needs. Now, diabetics, one, you know, the diabetics come from, not say all, but majority of diabetics come from a base of, I'm trying to be a bit PC, but a base of palate profile where they're used to, right? Sweeter flavor profiles. But that's also led to a snowball of health problems. So diabetics, to be able to, you know, to be able to provide them that pleasure that they once loved. People that have weaned off soft drink also, like ourselves, but really not want to consume that sugary drink. You know, the rise of obviously sugar-free drinks is one of the consumer base. We're talking about keto, FODMAP friendly, so very, in a way, modern type consumers.
Sure.
Our consumer, no, our target consumer base, but at the moment it's predominantly female, if I may admit. I see a lot of potential in terms of males, because I don't know if some of the customers that I can see right now in the panelists, We have had specific feedbacks saying that they don't consume vegetables, which is quite funny enough, coming from, let's say, a 60-year-old adult, is messaging us saying, hey, I just want to let you know that I thank you for creating this product because I'm weaning off sugary drinks. But not only that, I'm looking after myself because I finally can consume fiber and I don't have to wake up or forget about that fiber mix drink that I'm mixing every morning. So that meets that kind of consumer, people that are on the go, office workers, that really don't have the time to sit down, cut a piece of fruit, sit down and constantly look after their macros or count their macros. But it's quite broad. Well, this is where I'm trying to get at. It comes from a very specific dietary need to people who are weaning off sugary diet soft drinks.
Yes, super interesting, super interesting. And of course, as you go through that journey, you're just going to learn so much more about these individuals, who they are, who you've grown. I suppose the one area in which you could define a little bit more around the type of customer that you've got is perhaps your own subscribers on your website. And if you're saying these are predominantly women, health-focused people who don't, who basically they're after the no sugar soda drinks typically, but they're also pretty health conscious, then that would probably be what most would expect. But is there anything else that you wanted to add specifically to even just your consumers within your own website?
Yeah, well, specific consumers, sorry, I'm just reading one of the questions at the moment at the same time. So for us also, we're targeting school kids or like kids in general, it's very interesting as now looking at what's available in, let's say, school canteens and hospitals and whatnot. Like there's a thing called the traffic light system. I'm not too sure if you're aware of it. So the traffic light system is a food-based system in, let's say, school canteens, hospitals, whatnot. So to meet certain, red is obviously not good. Green is great. Amber is, you're in between, mediocre. So if you talk about something like juice, juice, I'm not saying cold pressed juice at home, that kind of juice, but juice in a normal format that comes from a plastic bottle, that actually doesn't have that much nutritive value to it at all. It has a lot of sugar, but also really bugger all fiber. In a traffic light system, juice is, I believe, an amber, where it still counts as healthy because it's made from a plant. But truth is, it's been stripped off so much that apart from the pleasure of drinking it, there really isn't much to it. Sorted in that instance is for us, we look at that replacement where kids are able to drink it during their lunch break, not have that sugary spike, and sit down to that first lesson after lunch and just be real jittery and wired. But also we're able to meet the deficit from, the modern day diet in terms of refueling fiber and their day-to-day needs. Now, I'm going to be sneaky and tie back into one of the questions that are being asked right now in terms of research evidence. So our ingredients, we are looking at doing independent studies for sorted itself, but for the moment, while we are tight and limited with resource, for the moment, our ingredients have all scientific research independent studies to it. For example, the prebiotic fiber that we use, it's proven to reduce high cholesterol, regulate blood sugar, and also has a lot of data in terms of helping and replenishing the gut dysbiosis or modern day gut problems now. For example, leaky gut, the thinning of the mucosal lining. And those are data that we're able to use right now, but also, we'll be able to create our own independent studies on the side. One of the research studies, as a matter of fact, is a 20-year study. So it's a longitudinal study on the effects of our prebiotic fiber and the benefits of gut health.
Yeah, right. That's super interesting, super interesting. And there's been a couple of other questions here around your consideration of doing seminars or kind of road trips and going to some of these regions on educating people within certain areas, of course, where you want to sell your product. Have you considered that? Of course, being a small team, I can imagine it's completely down to resources.
Honestly, Rob, we want to, and we have a vision to. I'm a bit jittery and there's a lot to say at the moment because it's like this and that and this and that. But, when we talk about the growth and the excitement in terms of what we want to do, I have so much to say. So
of course,
that to go back to that answer, yes, we envision ourselves to be out, doing samplings, doing tastings, with tying ourselves with corporate wellness groups. For example, we're speaking to in lights of Canva, supplying their office with sorted, being able to just really propel that corporate wellness, and also speak to schools in terms of, the importance of not just hydration through sorted, but how you look after your gut health in general, but how we are on top of it able to support that. But it's just really resource at the moment. We are working alongside, medical bodies such as universities. We're starting to have that few conversation at the moment where, are we able to create that specific research and tie in something with them? And that we'll touch on later on the stage. And that has in lights of talking about our patent blend that we're talking about. So yeah, definitely.
And you've already touched on expansion, but we've had a question here around expansion plans for distribution to WA and North Warmer, which are untapped regions, and some of your export plans to the likes of Singapore, Korea, China, and the UAE.
UAE, we have just received actually a few inquiries, but honestly, I have not had much time to really develop on that relationship at the moment. And don't quote me, but I think UAE is just starting to open up right now. So that hasn't been a big priority, but the warmer countries or warmer states, definitely. For the moment, even with the floods in Queensland is actually one of our top sales area at the moment. So that will only propel throughout winter, obviously, because they are warm in general throughout. WA, yes, but that's going to naturally come through as we're working on it at current and working around the logistic and mindscape of the recent border reopenings and just giving the retailers a bit of time to find their feet again in terms of supplying to consumers, and then we'll seed ourselves in that in those areas. But long story short, we're working on it. It's just time, and we'll be able to share some exciting news.
Fantastic.
Throughout.
Fantastic. And are your products, can they be kosher or halal certified?
Yes, they can. They are not at the moment. All our ingredients are 100% plant-based, 100% halal, 100% kosher certified. Well, not kosher certified, but 100% kosher, and also FODMAP friendly. But once again, certifications cost money, and also resource in terms of time constraints too. But I do have all that mapped out, or we do have all that mapped out.
I can imagine you've got an endless list of tasks and jobs that you want to get to.
Yeah, back to the export plan, if I can see there, Singapore, Korea, China. China is one thing that we have our eye on, or an area that we have our eye on. but not at the moment. China's a very big market. It also has a very big diabetic market, which we can tap onto at the later stage, but we have to be quite cautious on how we introduce our product there. It's a game of volume. We have to go in with very, very strong branding because lookalike brands will very, very quickly pop up as the popularity grow around there. Singapore, we're in talks with a few major retailers. Once again, going back to the Dairy Farm Group, once our pilot model in Malaysia kicks off, we'll be then slowly seeding it in Singapore, Hong Kong. Korea, we have not made connections yet, but Taiwan, at the moment, we will most likely, about 80%, we're just working on a few things at the moment, have our product be available in Taiwan this coming summer for Taiwan.
Fantastic.
So lots of things happening once again.
Fantastic. No, and the final question which we've got here is if you're expanding the team across other parts of Australia.
Most definitely, yes. We have been able to learn, adapt, and work very well remotely within our team internally here in Victoria. So most definitely, yes. But once again, it's time and resource.
Of course.
Yeah, we will be outlining in terms of, where we'll be intending to use our funds. But once again, it's all really going back to growing this brand because we're so excited about it. There's so much prospects. There's so much to talk about that it's just, it sounds a bit cliche, but.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Well, look, it's been fantastic to do this session with you. And I want to thank everybody here who's attended and asked questions and got involved. I really hope you enjoyed this session as much as I did, really learning a lot more about your plans for expansion. I always learn something new about a business, even though I've been working with you for a number of weeks in a session like this. So I want to thank everybody here for attending and really just showcase that if you have submitted an expression of interest already, you will be updated as and when the investment offer opens. If you haven't, please do head to the Good Seed page on the birchal.com. And I will be sending the link around to everybody after this in case you have missed it, and you can get involved there. Ivy and Adrian, it's been an absolute pleasure to do this session with you. Any final words from you?
No, not much. I have a tendency to ramble. So if you guys have any specific questions that you're unclear that wasn't answered throughout, feel free, email, message through. If I'm pretty certain that everyone listening to this right now will have our contact details one way or the other. It will always be open door between Adrian and myself. I'm sure one of us can answer those questions. So yeah,
just get in contact with us directly because truth is we are accessible. Our contact details are already there, and obviously the both of us are happy to answer any questions. I know I've been a bit quiet, but I think Ivy's been handling it really well.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you very much, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll contact you with the recording so you can watch the session anytime you wish to, if you want to go back to a certain part. But thank you so much, and see you all soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone, for attending.